Coming up, the Dogs have chicken for dinner, Leeds stomp on the Rovers, and the Storm electrocute Newcastle. Yes, hello and welcome to the Sideline Chat podcast, the one-stop shop for rugby league. It's just Mark Hendry today, as Connor Marcellus is doing other business with his university. He has sent me his notes, so let's get stuck in straight to it with the first game of the weekend being the South Sydney Rabbitohs against the Brisbane Broncos. For the team lists, as per normal, the Broncos are missing Payne Haas with a shoulder injury, and Kurt Cable is also missing the trip with an injury as well. So TC Rabati replaces Kurt Cable in the back row, and Pat Carrigan comes back, who will take Payne Haas's spot. Jake Turpin is listed amongst the reserves as he is edging closer from returning from his shoulder complaint, and Adam Reynolds also playing against his old club for the very first time. Meanwhile, for the home side, Liam Knight is back on the bench for South Sydney, which pushes Davey Mole to the reserves. Latrell Mitchell's brother, Sharky, is out after making his debut last week. Isaiah Tass keeps his spot in the starting side, despite the return of Tane Milne, who is in the reserves from his suspension. Now, Broncos did beat the Sharks 16-7 in the match in round number 8. I have to say, the Broncos didn't seem to be quite there in the first half of the match, but they did manage to make it 6-all at one stage, with the Sharks kicking that 1-point field goal to make it 7-6 at the break to Nico Hines. That was field goal 4. But it was all the Broncos in the second half, really, and they just dominated. Connor has got his Broncos standout player as Kotoni Staggs, who got one try, 116 run meters, 6 tackle breaks, 1 offload, and 1 from 1 goal converted. And as we mentioned in our episode last week, Kotoni Staggs called out Talakai from Cronulla, and well, Kotoni Staggs got one up on him. So Talakai was really quiet this week against the Brisbane Broncos. So Connor says 1-0 to Kotoni Staggs. How he managed to stop Talakai beggars belief. And he also goes on to say, no Reynolds, not a problem. Tyson Gamble and Billy Walters' control, coupled with a bit of their own ruthless defence, played into their favour. And I have to go agree with him right there. Broncos, you would think Adam Reynolds is still out on the park the rate the Broncos are playing in this match. They were just unstoppable in the second half, and they managed to shut down, like I said, Talakai, which I don't know how they did it though. It was just the Sharks are just too quiet, and it just goes to show that 1-point field goals at half time goes on. The team that gets the 1-point field goal at half time goes on to lose the match yet again. I remember a game a few years back. It was the Dragons versus the Sharks at Wollongong, and the Dragons got a 1-point field goal to make it, by memory, it was a 9-8 lead at the break, and then the Dragons went on to go and lose that game. So yet again, a 1-point field goal goes on to lose the match. So 1-point field goals seem to be not the way to go at half time. You might as well just leave it locked up or keep trying to get points on the board other than a field goal. So the curse still continues, but overall, our Broncos are just too good. Meanwhile, the opponents, South Sydney Rabbitohs, which happened to be the second Friday night game, they belted Manly 40 points to 22. Look, in all honesty, Manly didn't have the best of second. Well, really, they did have a standout game, considering they were at player down with Carl Lawton being sent off in the 9th minute due to a very terrible tackle that reminded me a lot like Alex McKinnon's tackle against Melbourne all those years ago. But thankfully, no one got seriously injured like Alex McKinnon did back then. But the Rabbitohs just put the pressure on, and to be honest, Manly did really well to keep going try for try, or nearly try for try, against the South Sydney Rabbitohs right there on the Central Coast. so a bit of a neutral venue there. The Rabbitohs standout for Connor was Cody Walker with 1 try, 2 try assists, 89 run meters, 2 tackle breaks, and 1 offload in his 150th game. So well done to Cody Walker for getting all those stats, especially that 1 try. That caps off a perfect night for Walker as well as the win. For Manly though, Connor says that Manly will both play for 70 minutes with only 12 men as Carl Lawton got sent off, which I'd have to agree. They Manly did really well to hang on for as long as they did. They played some really good footy. Cherry Evans, they weren't 100% obviously being a play down and the defence was exposed, but they did really well to try and cover as much as they could. So having 22 points to their name with a player down, that is a really good effort there. He also goes on to say, ultimately, the longer it went, the more south. And he also goes on to say he was very impressed by Koala and Ben Trbojevic in the centres. It will be very interesting watching 3 Trbojevic brothers all start for the first time. I'll touch on that a little bit more when we get to the team list for the Manly Sea Eagles. But they did really well, like I said, to keep in touch. And South Sydney, the longer the game got on, like Connor said, the more they did well. So, all in all, overall good performance by both sides, and Manly unfortunately come with the loss, but that comes with the expense of the less man on the field. So, heading back into this match, the first time that Adam Reynolds has played against Brisbane, it should have been second time if he wasn't out for week number 1 of the season back in March. So, this will be a really good test. So both teams are coming off wins. Brisbane are coming off some reasonable form as well, which they've been a bit inconsistent of, but they are getting slightly better. But South Sydney, they're going okay as well. Like they're going better than Brisbane, but not as much not as well as some of the other sides around them. So for this match, Connor has tipped South Sydney Rabbitohs to beat the Brisbane Broncos 1-6. This one's going to be a very tough match to open the round on Thursday night in Sydney. I'm actually going to lean towards the Brisbane Broncos to win by, I'm going to say 2 points. It's going to be a very tough match, but with Adam Reynolds being in the Broncos side will help them a lot get their win over South Sydney. So that's the final predictions there for the Rabbitohs-Broncos match. Now, for the opening match of Friday Night Football, we have the Canberra Raiders up against the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. And as per normal, the away side team list with Josh Jackson returning from the spicy cough. So he's taking his place at lock, which puts Max King to the bench. And Billy Sarakis, I do apologise if I get his last name wrong, pushes him out of 17 with Brent Naden back on the wing. Jaden Ockaball makes way to the reserves alongside Brendan Waken, Chris Patolo and Reece Hoffman. As for the home side, well, there's been a heap of changes that Ricky Stewart has made for the Green Machine. Jared Crocker is named to make his first NRL appearance for this season, which is absolutely brilliant to see. He replaces Sammy Valame in the centres. Chance Nickel-Klukstad is back and at fullback, which pushes Rapana to win and Xavier Savage to the bench. Jack Whiten is out after accepting a 2-match suspension. So he's replaced at 5'8" by Matt Frawley. Elliot Whitehead is back after missing past 2 games with a facial cut. Adam Elliott remains the starting dummy half with Sebastian Chris, the new man on the interchange. Now, before we get on to the away side, I'll talk about the Canberra Raiders first. They were up against the New Zealand Warriors there at Redcliffe on Saturday afternoon. But the Warriors somehow came back, and I don't know what hit them then, but yet again we have seen the Raiders' second half fade-outs destroy their decent margins, which is what exactly happened again this match. something needs to change, and I think with the introduction of Jared Crocker could help this cause. But without the likes of Jack White and running the ball, that could also go against them this week. But the Warriors, they did really well to come back in this match and to send it into Golden Point extra time with another Sean Johnson field goal. Now, the Warriors have played 3 games at Moreton Daily Stadium this year, and they've had 3 wins. And also, they're 4-0 from that same grounds, including those 3. So, it's also kind of points out it's the second Golden Point win at that venue, both from a Sean Johnson field goal for the win, which is quite ironic. So, yes, they are missing Auckland, and they are liking playing out at Redcliffe, but it's a good ground for them. So maybe it's a bogey ground for everyone else, but good to see that the Warriors can still perform away from home, but they are coming home very, very soon, so everyone will be very, very pleased about that. About the Raiders, Connor says, how much longer can Ricky Stewart hang on? This is yet another second half fade out after a good start translates to a loss. And that's pretty much what I could be wrong. But yeah, something needs to happen fast in Canberra, otherwise Ricky Stewart could be a coach under pressure. And if he's not already under pressure, the more and more second half fade outs that happen, the more and more under pressure he's going to be. And I correct myself in saying that Canberra are 3rd last in 14th on the ladder. So if the Dogs and Newcastle can overtake him, well, then they'll be last. So it's been yet again another disappointing start to the season for the Green Machine. Everyone expected them to be on the thirds of the top 8, but not down near the bottom of the ladder. But we're only 8 weeks in, heading to week 9, so there's still a long way to go though, but things need to turn around. But as for the Warriors, the kind of standout was Ewan Aiken with 1 try assist, 71 run meters, 3 tackle breaks, and 1 line break. I also have to say that Ewan Aiken did have a very impressive game as well. So did Sean Johnston to get that field goal. He did really well. So back to this match here with the. Oh, sorry. Before I get back into the Raiders Dogs game, I had to talk about the Bulldogs. Now, as I said at the top of the program, the Dogs have chicken for dinner. By that, I mean the Bulldogs surprisingly beat the Roosters 16 points to 12. Now, this is a really good sign that the Bulldogs are improving. Yes, they didn't have their main captain, as in Josh Jackson, but the rest of the team, especially Josh Adokar, who is the kind of standout. Josh Adokar got 2 tries, 163 run meters, 5 tackle breaks, and 1 line break. He goes on to say with the Bulldogs and the Roosters, not one of the flashiest wins you'll see from the Bulldogs this year, but easily one of the biggest for a while. But I have to agree with that. It is one of the biggest wins they've had in a long, long time. And very good to see that they can put it against top sides like the Roosters, although the Roosters have been in a bit of a form, not a form slump, but haven't been quite themselves over the last few weeks. Josh Adokar quite literally took the game by the scruff of the neck from dummy half to long range interception try. He's now found a groove and moving fast up the Ken Irvine medal stake. So what he's referring to there, Josh Adokar did score his first try from dummy half, which is right on the sideline along there, which was unexpected from the Roosters defense, by the Roosters defense, and it would have been by anyone realistically as well. And yeah, that line intercept range high. He read that play very, very well, and no one could stop him. Like, not even Suwali, who was coming across field, but Suwali ended up backing off. So he thought, what's the point of trying to stop him when we weren't going to? So that's what you're referring to there. So Adokar, he is finding the groove there. I think he's moving up the try scoring ranks. I think he's in the top 20, I believe, kind of saying to me earlier on in the week, which is good to see. So good things are happening with the Bulldogs. As for the Roosters, he says, where did the Roosters go? I mean, seriously, They should have belted the Bulldogs to oblivion. Or everyone would have thought the same thing. Who would have thought the Bulldogs come out to beat the Roosters? Like, everyone would have thought the Roosters will absolutely destroy the Bulldogs. But, however, he goes on to say, like Parramatta on Easter Monday against the West Tigers, 2 minute errors and attempting to play sideways cost them at the end. And I could see that from the game watching it myself. They were trying to play sideways footy, and pretty much since Anzac Day, the Roosters haven't been quite themselves. They are trying different things, but it doesn't seem to be working. So they need to go back to what they generally do. That gets them the win. So, I mean, and look what Parramatta did. They cut the errors out from Easter Monday against the Tigers and beat Newcastle on Anzac weekend. So if the Roosters can do the same thing, they could go on to win the next match. Maybe a little bit of controversy here. He says Joseph Sawali's foot on the touchline was touch and go, which ultimately sealed the game for the Dogs. 1 metre the other way, the Roosters get very lucky. Yeah, it was very touch and go. They did award the try straight away, the referee, but then they took it to the bunker afterwards to see if Sawali's foot went to touch. It was millimetres in it. It was very lucky that it went into the Dogs' favour, because otherwise, if he got that try, it would have been locked up at 16-all, but with a very tough kick along the sideline. So, it could have gone into Golden Point, but since Sawala's foot was on the sideline there, it was lucky for the Dogs to get away with that win. So well done to the Dogs for causing an upset, and things are looking to go up for them. Now back to this Raiders Bulldogs match we have on Friday night. The rate that Canberra have been going, it looks promising for the Dogs, and with the Dogs improving week in, week out, it looks like the Dogs should win this match. Although, if the Raiders do get a head start, they need to keep that lead. So, Connor has gone with the Bulldogs to win 1-6 in a tight match. I have to agree with that. The Bulldogs do have the better run at the moment, and they are improving week in, week out. And the Dogs are looking to go back to back for the first time in a long time. I'm going to say the Bulldogs to win by 12 points. Canberra will just fade out again in the second half, and the rate the Dogs have been playing, they should dominate the Raiders everywhere across the park. So that's one of the games that is to keep an eye out for, which is a perfect segue into this blockbuster Friday night match between the Penrith Panthers and the Parramatta Eels at Bluebet Stadium, which is a sold-out crowd, I believe. So a Western Sydney derby on a Friday night. What else could you expect? As for the team list, though, for Parramatta, Tom Opacek is back in the back line in some much-needed relief. Dylan Brown is back at 5'8", with Jacob Arthur shifting to reserves. Sean Russell is included in the extended bench, and he looks to make his way back from a rib/lung injury. As for Penrith, yet again, there has been pretty much the same side, but there have been two noticeable players on the extended squad which could maybe play as a late inclusion this week. Brian Toto and Moses Leota have both been named in reserves. They have trained with the team on Monday. Whether or not they do play, we'll have to wait and see, but it's a good sign for Penrith, and I reckon that Toto will make their comebacks this week. Now, for the respective games, let's go for the home side first. Penrith Panthers down the Gold Coast Titans, 18 points to 4. But to keep Penrith scoreless, I have to say Gold Coast did really well to keep Penrith scoreless at the halftime break. Gold Coast are up 2-0, I believe, at the break. Nathan Cleary, it was 4-2 at the break. 4-0, sorry. But Penrith and Nathan Cleary tried to go for a 2-point field goal at the halftime break. He had the length and the distance, but not quite the angle. He just narrowly missed it there from Nathan Cleary, but good attempt and good thinking by the young man there. And speaking of Cleary, that's the standout player for the Penrith Panthers and for Connor. Nathan Cleary, 1 try, 2 try assists, 55 home metres, 3 tackle breaks, 2 goal line dropouts, and 3 from 3 goals converted. Now, I thought Penrith would absolutely again destroy Gold Coast Titans, but Burnley was, I wouldn't say an easy match for them, but Gold Coast did very well to hang on to them. Con goes on to say Penrith was very lucky to pull off that one in the second half. Nathan Cleary worked a treat to dominate the second half and deny the Titans an upset, which I agree right there. Looked like a donut on both sides of the scoreboard until Will Smith got a final kick in. And seriously, would you want to stop Marzu at close range? I mean, no, I wouldn't want to try and stop Greg Marzu from close range, especially with the size of him in there. But yeah, it was a tight contest in the first half there, but Penrith seemed to push on with it as they normally do and claim the victory, although it probably wouldn't have been as big as what they were hoping for. As for Parramatta, they went down heavily to the North Queensland Cowboys, 35 points to 4 up in Darwin. So, Parramatta, yet again, it seems like Easter Monday all over again. There's just so many errors from them, but the surprise packet of the year, North Queensland played exceptionally well. And one player in particular from Carr, and I have to agree with him yet again on this, Carl Felt was the standout player with 3 tries, 168 home metres, 4 tackle breaks, and 2 line breaks. Now, we're seeing a Carl Felt and the Cowboys that we saw probably 2, 3, maybe 4 years ago, which is fantastic to see. The introduction of Chad Townsend, I reckon, has been a very good signing there from Todd Payton and has played wonders so far this year. They're sitting, I believe, in 4th on the ladder. Yes, they are sitting 4th, only behind Melbourne and Penrith, with the Sharks and Eels behind them. So, to be in amongst the top 4 this early in the season when everyone, including myself and Clark, were kind of having them as the wooden spooners and me having them finishing in 15th, this is a very surprise. And Jason Talamalo looks like he's going back to his best. He's not quite there yet, but this has been one of the best seasons he's had in a long time, since he signed that 10-year, $10 million contract. So that's really good to see. For what Connor has given me to say about this match, Kyle Fell has arguably played his best game for some time. I agree. Given the lack of decent backs in the Maroons lineup for the State of Origin, he might be in line for a recall. He personally thinks Billy Slato, who's the Maroons coach, would have made his mind, probably going with Oates and Coates as the winners. I mean, if one of them goes down injured between now and Origin period, which I hope doesn't, Felt is there waiting to go. He goes on to say, it will be interesting to see how Hamiso Tibuai-Fordeaux is used, if back in the starting lineup. If anyone was at risk of the chop, he'd say it's between Murray Taulagi and Peter Hickey. So with Hamiso Tibuai-Fordeaux coming back from injury, I believe, and scoring a try, I mean, he has to be in the starting 17 somewhere, and I'll touch on the Cowboys line. But he's got the Panthers winning in a margin of 7 points to 12. I mean, if Parramatta play like they did against the Cowboys, they'd come a long night out. So that's a very welcome return there for Manly. Ben Travojevic is taking Brad Parker's spot in centre, with Ruben Garrick shifting back to the wing per the program. Ola Kawatu is returning from suspension, which is very good timing considering Kyle Lawton has accepted a 4-match ban for that dangerous tackle last week. Josh Alloway is also listed to return after being included on the bench after a shoulder complaint. Let's start on the Manly game. Well, I kind of really touched on it before against Parramatta. With Carl Lawton missing for 70 minutes, Manly did extremely well to hang on. but it was just too good for South Sydney. But very good, like I said, for good performance for Manly to overcome a 12-man side for 70 odd minutes. For the Manly Sea Eagles, they not Manly Sea Eagles, sorry, the West Tigers narrowly going down to St George Illawarra Dragons 12 points to 6 in what was a thrilling Sunday afternoon game at Wollongong there. I believe it was not controversial, but there was a kick there taken by, it wasn't taken by, I think Luke Brooks put up the kick for, I believe, I can't remember who it was, sorry, I should be better than that. But Zach Lomax was contesting the ball as well. Then it got changed. He changed. I believe it should have been a try, at least maybe a penalty try even, given that it was ended up taken back for a penalty because of the mid-attacker by Lomax. But penalty try I think would have been sufficient for that goal, because I believe the Tigers did score that try. That I believe could have been the turning point for that match. But anyone will have their own opinions. But good win by the Dragons. And standout performance that Connor has said was yet again Ben Hunt with 1 try, 89 run meters and 6 tackle breaks. Now, his thoughts on this match is, to be fair, the Dragons got away with this one. Aside from 2 runs from dummy half that led to tries, neither side looked likely to take charge of this match. And this is what he also believes that this is what the Titans-Tigers clash a month ago should have looked like. Both sides in it until the very end. I can see why he says that, and I agree with that right there. I mean, that Titans-Tigers match a month ago was not what everyone expected, and it was all one-way traffic. This one was hard to get a read of who was going to win. Yes, the Tigers went into the sheds with a 2-0 lead at break, and they did get that try thanks to Luke Brooks, and with that one being denied as well. But the Dragons, 2 runs from dummy half to score a try. Like Ben Hunt yet again scored another try, and good to see Jane Sullivan actually got into the starting side this time, although with Jack Bird being ruled out from the side, it pushed Amone into the 5/8 role, and Sullivan coming in off the bench in what would have been the utility role. And it worked wonders with Andrew McCullough going off with a HIA, which he did pass, so that's very good to hear. Sullivan did well, and hopefully he stays in the side for this week, but we'll have to see what the team lists says that Anthony Griffin has named. But the Tigers, they've come off 2 upset victories back to back against Parramatta and South Sydney, and by 1 point per game. So, no, good to see the Tigers are improving. Like I said, they did, I believe, get a bit ripped off with that try. Should have been at least a penalty try, so would have been a kick from right in front anyway. So, I mean, but 6 points entitled probably might have won the game for them, but we just never know what the outcome would have been. So for this matchup, with Tom Tavorovic back, that's going to be a dangerous sign for the Tigers. But it'll be finally good to see all 3 Tavorovic brothers of Tom, Ben and Jake finally playing, hopefully a full 80-minute performance between those 3. Because we have seen Ben Tavorovic play a little bit before, but not as much, so we're not quite sure what he's like in a full 80-minute match. Connor has said the Manly Sea Eagles to win this one 7-12. I'm going to go Manly Sea Eagles as well, but only by... I know they are still, the 13th on the ladder, but they have improved a lot considering where they were at the start of the season. But my final prediction is Sea Eagles to win by 6, with Tom, Ben and Jake all getting 1 try each. Now, wouldn't that be a wonderful storyline? The 3 Tavorovic brothers scoring a try each in front of their home crowd on a Saturday afternoon at Four Pines Park. The following matchup, in the second one of the Saturday triple header, we head to BB Prince Stadium in Mackay, where the Roosters are home to the Gold Coast Titans. For the away side, David Fifita is out for a month, which is devastating news there for the Gold Coast Titans. So he's been replaced by Sam McIntyre, with Kevin Proctor starting in the back row alongside Bo Fermor, Philip Sami, Jermaine Aguama to the reserves, and Adam Kieran, who's going to miss a couple of weeks due to ankle injury out of the side altogether. Billy Smith is also nearing a comeback from a foot complaint and has been named on the reserves list. Now, I've already touched on the Gold Coast Titans against the Penrith Panthers, putting up I could say a really pretty good performance in the first half. Just the second half that let them down there. But as for the Roosters, they going down to the Dogs, it's not a good sign for them, but maybe with Daniel Tupou back, might give them a confidence booster. We just have to wait and see with this match there. But they'll be looking to turn things around after their bad run. I both thought of for these two teams in their matches against Penrith and Roosters respectively. So prediction time. Connor says to go to the Roosters to win 1-6. I'm going to have to say I'm actually going to go the upset and say the Gold Coast Titans win 1-6. If they can keep the Roosters quiet or to a minimal like the Dragons mostly did during the Anzac Day clash and what the Dogs did on the weekend, the Titans could come up with an upset here. So I'm going to say Titans to win this one by 4 points. Bit of an upset, but hey, I like a bit of an upset every now and again. Now for the final match on Saturday, we're heading to North Queensland where the Cowboys are playing the Newcastle Knights. With the Knights, there's also been mass changes from Adam O'Brien, with Jake Clifford and Adam Clune being out. Tex Hoy replaces Clifford at 5'8", with Phoenix Crossland replacing Adam Clune at halfback. Lockie Fitzgibbon and Dominic Young have been named to return from injuries, replacing Sasagi and Bo Jones in the 17. Kurt Mann remains on the sidelines with Leo Thompson named to start at lock, and the new players on their bench are Matt Crocker and Pasami Solo. And for the Cowboys, well, luxury is there for Todd Payton, unchanged lineup. The backline remaining the same with Hamasai Tibuai to come off the bench after a super sub performance last week. Ruben Cotter and Tom Gilbert earned starts against the Eels and are to do so this week, and Jay Grant is amongst the reserves alongside Jermaine Tamura Brown. Well, Melbourne and Newcastle. That match there in Newcastle. Newcastle fans block your ears right now. Storm beating the home side 50 points to 2. Yes, that's right. Melbourne got 50 and Newcastle got 2. So, heading into after this matchup, in the 2 weeks, Knights had got 4 points. Melbourne got 120 points in 2 weeks. So, that just shows where Newcastle and Melbourne are amongst in the league, with Melbourne second on the ladder, only behind Penrith, and Newcastle have dramatically dropped down to last on the ladder after having 2 wins to start the season. Now, generally Newcastle do start the season well. Not every year, but over the past years, they have started off well with maybe 2 or 3 wins to start off the year, then they tend to drop, and that's what's happening again this year. But with inconsistencies in the side doesn't help either. But coming against Melbourne, it was going to be tough for Newcastle, especially what Melbourne did to the Warriors on Anzac Day, where they scored 70 points and won by 60 overall. It was just another tough night at the office for Newcastle there. So the standout for giving straight away was they kicked out on the full, which is not a very good sign. That set the tone for the afternoon for Newcastle. To the goal line dropout to begin the second half. No genuine opportunity was taken. That is 100% agreeable there. The only bright thing was Jake Clifford taking a long-range penalty goal, and he got it, which was the only good thing, and that was right on half-time as well, which was the only thing that Newcastle were there to cheer about, really. So, yes, Newcastle did play poorly, but there's still a reasonable crowd there at McDonald Jones Stadium, so the loyal fans still go to matches through thick and thin, and that's what loyal fans do, stick with your team through thick and thin. I mean, they've gone through worse before, they know the Castrians, where they had 3 wooden spoons in a row, so they know what it's like. Hopefully, maybe things could improve. Our goal line defence failed to improve from last week against Parramatta before this match, with Melbourne made them pay dearly. Yep, that was quite obvious from the get-go there from the first try. Harry Grant put on a clinic, clearly making a case for the Australian number 9 spot. Connor reckons if this is how he plays week in, week out, then it becomes a matter of not if, but when for Harry Grant to play in the number 9, which I think he will be playing number 9 for Australia at the World Cup this year. A standout for me, I have to say, in this match is Xavier Coates. He did put up a really good performance yet again. That's 2 weeks in a row that he has performed really well out during the win. He did. It was easier for him this week, scoring tries than what it was last week as well. But yet again, he got 3 tries this week, and he got 4 against the Warriors. So that's 7 tries in the space of 2 weeks. That is unbelievable record there. And it goes to show that Melbourne just in the league of their own. Justin Olam's shot, he fended off 2 players, and he's just like powering through the fence right there. I mean, that was poor defense by Newcastle as well. Jerome Hughes did go up to the video referee this try for Jerome Hughes, but he did get the ball down, which is, I wouldn't say only just, but it was close. So good there. Justin Olam yet again get another try. Nick Meaney scoring against his old club yet again, and Cameron Munster, what a performance he had yet again. When Nick Meaney tries, Cameron Munster had a really good heads-up play there to see like Nick Meaney was coming in open space, and he just flew that Harbour Bridge pass out to Nick Meaney to make him score in the corner there. And Newcastle's defence is absolutely terrible. And already touched on the Cowboys. With Carr having a wonderful game, one of his best he's played in a long time. And same with the Kalamola playing one of his bests in a while. I wouldn't say best, but better than what he has done over the last few years, as I mentioned previously. This should be an easy victory for North Queensland Cowboys. Newcastle, they don't know what the heck is going on there. Something needs to change fast, and with all these match changes, I mean, I believe Crossland still isn't quite NRL level ready yet. He has got the potential in him, but I just don't know. There's something about him that needs to change, or needs more game time elsewhere. But it could be just because of the lack of NRL experience that could be letting him down. And Texley, I think he's more of a fullback than a 5'8", so yeah, it's going to be a long night for Newcastle. Connor says Cowboys to win by 13 plus. I'm agreeing with him, but to be precise, like I always have done since last season, the Cowboys are going to win by this one by at least 30 points. 30 points plus, well, I'm going to say 30 just to make it more respectable. But yeah, it's going to be a long night for Newcastle as for them. And speaking of long nights, well, not a long night, it's going to be a long afternoon for the St George Illawarra Dragons, who are playing Melbourne in Melbourne on Sunday afternoon. So Jack Bird has been named to return at 5'8" for the Red V, which pushes Amone to the bench in otherwise an unchanged lineup. Jaden Sullivan moving to 18th man, so unless injuries occur during training during this week, looks like Sullivan won't be playing or coming off the bench again. So, well, technically he's coming off the bench, but he might not be needed. So, we'll have to wait from there. But for Storm, there have been some changes, surprisingly, but due to injury, which is unfortunate. Tepai Mabara, who did score a try against Newcastle, is out for 6 weeks with a shoulder injury, with Jordan Grant coming into the 17. Dean Iramira, he's been included in reserves, beating his hamstring injury. And other than that, there is no changes for Craig Bellamy, with Kenny Bromwich set to play his 200th NRL game for the club. And to do it in front of your home crowd, they're more than likely going to get W. That's a very good way to cap off game number 200 there. Melbourne, like I said, scored 120 points in the 2 weeks. That's with the Warriors victory and the victory over Newcastle on the weekend. And the Dragons, they are coming off a 2 or 3 game win. They won on Anzac Day. 3 games, they won Easter Sunday against Newcastle, Anzac Day against the Roosters, and against the Tigers on Sunday. So, but Melbourne is going to go, is very hard to going to be beat. And the Dragons, I'm going to say the Dragons are going to lose this match. It's just a matter of by how much, not if they're going to lose. Hopefully they do cause an upset, but Melbourne is extremely hard to beat, even if you're in top form like what the Sharks were earlier on this season. Connor has got Melbourne to win by 13 plus. I'm going to say Melbourne to win by 20. I'm going to say Melbourne to win by 20 points. They're going to, like I say, get the W, but the Dragons will hopefully put up a fight, and a reasonable one, but not enough to outdo Melbourne. So Melbourne to win by 20 for me, and Connor says 13 plus. And as for the final match for the weekend, we've got Cronulla Sutherland Sharks playing the New Zealand Warriors out at PointsBet Stadium. I would spell it out correctly. For the away side, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak has been named after suffering that nasty concussion against Melbourne on Anzac Day, which knocked him out cold as he before he even got to the ground. So that's really good to see him playing again. He replaces Jesse Arthurs, who's out with a shoulder injury on the wing, with Rocco Berry and Valia, sorry if I get the name incorrect, maintaining their spots in the centres. Baylor Siren moving to 18th man, replaced by Eli Katoa in the back row, with Aaron Pene returning from match suspension via the bench. And as for the Sharkies, Dale Finucane is back to start it off, with pushes McGuinness to the bench and Braden Trindle as 18th man. Aidan Tolman is listed to start, but he did swap with Royce Hunt last week. Wade Graham will come off the bench for his second appearance after getting through low 23 minutes last week. Matt Cavallo and Connor Tracy are back again after injuries early this season, but are amongst those that there could maybe be late inclusions. But the rate that Talakai has been playing, and really the whole backline, Kennedy, Katoa, Raymond, Talakai, and Muratalo, it's going to be hard for them to get back into the side unless you bring one of them off the bench, like Connor Tracy off the bench in that utility role, although you do have Jack Williams there at the moment. But I mean, if I was Craig Fitzgibbon, I'd nothing against Jack Williams, but I'd pick Connor Tracy over Jack Williams. But there might be something that could be coming up sooner rather than later. As I mentioned, the Warriors just managed to get the victory over Canberra at Redcliffe, so by yet again a Sean Johnson field goal. So I don't know where it came from, but something happened there, and they need to continue that performance run that they have been doing. Yes, they are playing away from home, and the Sharks are playing really good footy at the moment to sit in 4th and ladder behind the Cowboys, with the Warriors in 11th. So If the Warriors do win this match and results go their way, they could potentially sneak into the top 8 come the end of this weekend, which will be good for them because they've been playing away from home for what this would be the 3rd year in a row. Well, 2.5 years because they are heading back to New Zealand at this stage in July. So, and I already touched on the Sharks going down to the Broncos. They just know in the second half. I think the Sharkies will bounce back in this one. Connor has said the Sharks to win by 13 plus in this match. Look, the Sharks have played really well at home this season, but the Warriors have been quite resilient as well. So who knows what's going to happen in this match? I'm actually going to go for the Warriors to win this match, to win in, I'm going to say a 7 to 12 margin, and make it an 8-point victory for the Warriors. From the bounce back to win by 1 point in Golden Point after suffering a 60-point defeat against Melbourne the week prior on Anzac Day. That is an outstanding performance there. Nathan Brown and the whole club will be very, very happy with that performance that they did against Canberra. But as well with the Sharks, they'll be looking to bounce back as well, playing on their home turf yet again. I'd say, being a Sunday afternoon, there will be a capacity crowd at PointsBet Stadium. So, kind of 13 points plus for the Sharks, and I'm going to say the Warriors to win by 8 points. And that wraps up the NRL debrief. We'll catch everyone tomorrow with the Super League debrief, as well as Challenge Cup previews that we see this week with the semi-finals, as well as the Championship Spotlight is back this week. If you like what you hear here, please like and subscribe and follow our YouTube channel. Follow our socials at Sideline Chat RL and Sideline Chat on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. I hope you enjoy your Rugby League NRL action this weekend. And on behalf of Connor and myself, I'll chat to you tomorrow.